series. The series title is basically Profile of a Woman, Wife, Mother, and we're in part 2 of it. This series started by asking the question, what is a woman? Which was prompted by a documentary that was released last June 2022. And they were asking the question, what is a woman? And since the beginning of this series through now, as I've continued to do some more research on what's happening in our society, in our culture, and especially as it relates to what some people refer to as the alphabet community, it's really disheartening and disappointing to see where we have come as people. This is people in general, let alone as people of God. Well, as I did last 2 weeks ago, I'll do again. What is a woman? A woman is biblically and biologically a female adult human. Don't accept any responses with subjective, abstract descriptions which never identify a definitive answer. That's extremely important to know. Last time we were together, we learned the truth that a woman, again, a female adult human, is designed to bear the image and likeness of Yahweh, our God, with the potential to replicate that image and likeness throughout the earth. Also, a woman is designed to complement man and help rule over heaven and the earth that Yahweh, our God, created. Third thing is, a woman is designed to be a wife. Even though they may never get married, she has the tools and equipment to do so should that calling come upon her. So let's continue as we take a look at the role of a woman. I'm going to say a good woman, wife, and mother. Let me see something here. Did I grab the wrong set of slides? Let me double check. No, but I grabbed the wrong beginning. Let me get on to where I am. All right. We're going to be in Proverbs chapter 31. So if you've got your Bibles, go ahead and turn to Proverbs 31. We're going to walk through this, not all today, but this is where we're going to learn about what God's perspective is on a woman from a slightly interesting perspective. In Proverbs 31, verse 1, the words of King Lemuel, the burden with which his mother corrected him. Why does King Lemuel start off by sharing what his mama taught him? You know, what is up with that? Well, most likely because King Lemuel would have been familiar with Proverbs 1:8, which reads, "My son, heed the discipline of your father and do not forsake the instruction," the Hebrew word is Torah there, "of your mother." And he also would have been familiar with Proverbs 6:20. "My son, keep your father's commandments. Do not forsake your mother's teaching." Again, the word Torah is there. But Lemuel was wilding out. How do you know this? Well, not all the translations have made it clearly, so that's why I've gone through and looked at a bunch of them. Well, you see, he was wilding out even though he knew Proverbs 30, verse 17, which reads, "The eye that mocks a father and despises obedience to a mother, the ravens of the valley will pick it out and the young eagles will eat it." So if you don't want to lose your eyes and you don't want to lose your vision, pay attention to the instructions, godly instructions, and wise wisdom instructions of your father and your mother. Now, Lemuel's mama was trying to get him straight. So Lemuel, I think after this counseling session, winds up sharing 2 things with us that his mama taught him. And that is the profile of a good ruler and the profile of a good woman, wife, and mother. I mean, something must have gone on. She said, "Come here," grabbed him by the ear and said, "We need to talk." And you know, whether it's your mother, your wife, or anyone else, when they say we need to talk, you in trouble. In verse 2, it says, "What, my son? And what, O son of my womb? And what, O son of my vows? Don't give your strength unto women, nor your ways to that which destroys kings." What she is saying when she says, my son, she's saying, you've got 23 of my chromosomes in your DNA. You came out of my womb. You came out of my body. See that? And the son of my vows. I dedicated and committed you to Yahweh. I presented you to him. So stop living your life like you're indestructible and there's no tomorrow. She knew he knew better. And as a king, well, he was supposed to do something. Deuteronomy 17, verses 18 through 20, let us know that what the king was supposed to be doing, every king that ruled during the time of Israel, they were to write for themselves a copy of Yahweh's instruction, directions, and wisdom. Those three things are summed up in the word Torah. Sadly, it's translated law in most Bibles, so we kind of miss the impact of really what it's trying to communicate. But this personally handwritten copy of the Bible would be with him, and he'd read it all the days of his life. Well, why would he do this? One, he was instructed to do so, but also in doing so, he would learn to fear Yahweh, his God, to see him in a very reverent manner. He would carefully follow all the words of the Torah, that is, of the instruction, direction, and wisdom Yahweh has given, and statutes, and he wouldn't turn aside from the commands to the left or to the right, which in doing so, that is, in staying straight on the path he's given, would prolong not only his days in the kingdom as king, but also the legacy of his children. Things that we do in life, whether you think about it or not, if you are a parent or in a parental type role, the things that we do can affect people to the third and fourth generation. So when you decide to do something stupid or crazy, just know it's not just going to fall on you, but God's going to see how that's going to impact not only your children, but your children's children and your children's children's children, third and fourth generations. The king was supposed to write a copy of the word. Can you imagine if God said to you and I, listen, you need to write a copy of the Bible for yourself? The whole thing? The whole thing. And because if nothing else, you will at least have read it through one time completely. But the idea was that we would go through it and we would review it so that we would learn how to live. The king was to write the copy of the word so he could correctly walk out the word. He was to know the word so that he would avoid three things: that he would not walk in ungodly counsel, he would not stand with sinners, and he would not sit with people who mock God and his word. Lemuel's mama tells him, it's not for kings, O Lemuel, to drink wine, nor for princes to say, where's a strong drink, which in that day was like a beer. Because if they drink in excess, that is, you might forget what has been decreed and pervert the justice due to anyone who's been wronged. Give strong drink to the one that's ready to perish, and give wine to the bitter in soul, and let him drink and forget their poverty and put their troubles out of mind. So, what's the Bible saying about drinking? Those in positions of authority must avoid excessive drinking, as it may impair their ability to think clearly when they need to make a judgment call about something. And you never know when you may need to make a judgment call about something. So it's not saying really that you cannot drink at all, but what it's saying is, should you choose to drink, then you need to be careful not to do it in excess. To others, it's an acceptable practice, but not to the point of drunkenness. Are you saying, Marcus, that it is okay to drink? In the Bible, it really only knew about wines and beers. It didn't know about distilled alcohols, but they fall into the category of, again, a strong type of drink. And there is no prohibition on drinking with the exception that was just made. But if you have had a problem with substance abuse, whether in the forms of drugs or alcohol or prescription medicine, it's in your best interest to avoid drinking altogether because you have a predisposition or a pre-existing condition that says this wouldn't be good for you. Now, it's not because drinking is a sin, but it's because if you have that pre-existing type of condition, then drinking in your case can lead you to sin. And so you should avoid it. So you can't speak and say drinking's not good for you when the Bible clearly says there are times to drink. There are times I'm going to give you new wine. Yeshua turned water into wine. I mentioned that to someone some years ago, and they said, well, he didn't drink it. I wasn't quick enough to say, well, if he made it, he condoned it. But trust me, he did drink it. There's no problem with that because it was not to excess. Lemuel's mama continues. Another thing, as a king, a profile of a good king, speak up for the mute, for those who literally or figuratively have no voice and can't speak for themselves, for the rights of all the unfortunate people, and speak up, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and needy. This is what you're to do as a king. And since you've been wilding out, let me tell you this. As you look for a woman, mother, and wife, don't be like King Solomon, whose wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not fully devoted to Yahweh, his God, as the heart of David, his father, had been. We find this in 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 4. The wrong women turned his heart away. And on the other side, the wrong kind of men, ladies, can turn your heart from him as well. So you need to be careful. So what should Lemuel look for? His mama says you should look for a woman who's a woman of valor. So now, this woman of valor, who can find? Her price is far above rubies. I know I just told you that's what you're looking for, but she won't be easy to spot. Then again, maybe she will. Now, let me help you all understand something for those who've been going through Proverbs 31 for some years and heard a lot of nice things about the virtuous woman. And I don't know what pictures you have in your mind about it, but this woman being described here is not necessarily dainty or demure. She's feminine, to be sure, but a force to be reckoned with. Valor refers to being valiant like a soldier going to war, ready to overtake the enemy. And by the way, she can't be bought. Nice things have a purpose, and I'm sure she definitely likes them, but they will not become a prison. Her husband confidently puts his trust in her, and he lacks nothing. He doesn't have to be concerned about anything she's involved in. Why? Well, it tells us right here, because she's good to him, never bad, all the days of her life. I mean, she's making sure he understands and knows, I'm going to take good care of you. I'm going to make sure our house is run well. I'm going to make sure you don't have to worry about anything that I'm involved in. And it says here, he doesn't worry about anything she's involved in because she's going to do him good all the days of her life. She's also about taking care of business, though. She's not sitting around the house not doing anything. And we're going to find out she's not only sitting around the house. Check it out. She looks for wool and flax and sets her hand to them with a will to work. She makes sure the sheep get sheared and the flax seed gets harvested. You see, the wool is for clothing and other types of covering. Flax seed is what is used to make oils, and it's also what's used to make the fabric linen. Now, I find it interesting that she looks for wool and flax, or wool and what makes linen, because in Leviticus 19:19, it says, you're to keep my statutes. You shall not breed together two kinds of your cattle. You shall not sow your field with two kinds of seed, nor wear a garment upon which you have two kinds of material mixed together. Now, based on that, a lot of people have said you shouldn't wear clothing that have different kinds of mixtures. Well, I thank God that there are times when we read something in the Bible and it's not clear, but if you keep reading, he brings some clarification. And he does just that in Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 11. And he says, it's not just any two materials. It reads, you shall not wear a material mixed of wool and flax together. Well, why wool and flax? Everything in our environment has a frequency. That is, we all resonate at a particular thing. You might be familiar with your electricity. It operates at 60 cycles per second. Well, the human body has a frequency rate of about 70 to 100. And for people, when they get sick, it drops to below 50. Anything with a frequency that we put on us that has with a frequency of less than 100, which is our standard frequency, draws energy from us. And anything greater than 100 adds energy to us. Now, don't get all spooky spiritual. This is not quite like Superman being recharged by the sun, but it's not too far away from that concept. You see, the vibration of things like rayon, polyester, and acrylic materials, they measure 0 to 15, well below the 100. But both linen and wool measure at 5,000, not 500, 5,000 when they're worn separately. They add energy to the body. I know someone was thinking, well, why don't you put them both on and you'll have 10,000? Because when you put them on, there's a property in each of them that they cancel each other out. And when you mix them together, they have the effective value of 0 and pull from the body. Yahweh knows what he's talking about when he gives us instruction, direction, and wisdom, because he designed everything with a purpose in mind. And I bet you're going to go check your closet out now, huh? The valiant woman, she's like a merchant fleet, bringing her food from afar. She rises while it's still night and supplies provisions for her household, the daily fare for her maids. She's got employees that are working for her. She sets her mind on some property and she acquires it. She plants a vineyard by her own labors. What's this telling us about this woman that Lemuel is supposed to be looking for? That this woman doesn't mind going to TJ Maxx, Nordstrom Rack, or Great Lakes Crossing to find the best value and some new and interesting items for her household. She'll even go check out some property and determine if it's a worthwhile investment. And if it is, can it be used to generate income? She signs the papers, picks up the property, and makes an investment in it by planting a vineyard. Did you hear that? Where's the husband? We're going to find out where he is later on. But right now, she's making sure everything associated with the household that she's a part of is going to be well taken care of. Now, does this say that she's only a housewife? Obviously, she knows how to pick up property. She obviously knows how to sign for the property. Obviously, she knows how to plant things, to wait for them, and to harvest those things. When Yahweh told the male and female, the man and the woman, Adam and Eve, you're going to rule over everything that I have made together, that was the operative word, together. Men and women are not equal as far as man and woman. If so, you wouldn't need one of them. But you have to have complementary components so that God says, now you can come together and work as one. But it works best when you work together. This woman, she doesn't just wear any kind of clothes. She puts on strength for clothing. And she performs the things that she does with a high level of intensity, integrity, and energy. When she goes after something, she goes after it. When she sets her mind to do something, unless you got a real good reason for her not to do it, get out the way or get on board. She sees that her business thrives. And while her lamp never goes out at night, it tells us, you can be sure she knows to get her rest, because she knows if she wears herself down, she won't be available for God, herself, or anyone else. She sets her hand to the distaff. Her fingers work the spindle, which is where she spins wool and linen independently to make coverings and clothing. She makes clothes too. I mean, what doesn't she do? Well, see, the thing is, it's not what doesn't she do. What we're seeing here is basically a composite of you're looking for, if you're looking for a wife, you're looking for someone who is industrious, who is intentional, who wants to make sure that if they have a husband, the husband, and if they're a mother, the children that they're connected with have everything in life that God expects for them to have. God doesn't just rain down things out of heaven as a regular thing. He may as an exception, but not as a regular thing. He has given us instructions on how to sow, wait, and harvest for those things he wants us to enjoy in life. One other thing about this valiant woman is that she gives generously to the poor. That's right. Her hands are stretched out to the needy. She doesn't find time, but she makes time to give her time, her talent, and her treasure generously to the poor and needy, Now, in the Bible, this often refers to widows, fatherless children, also called orphans, and those who are poor and destitute. That is, they don't have the basic necessities of life. She gives willingly. Man, I am glad that I married a woman of valor, a valiant woman. Sometimes I could just see her in like a knight's costume, got her armor on. I'm ready for the day. Because that's what you're looking for, men. And let me say this. Women, if you want to be found, this is what a man should be looking for. If he's looking for someone who doesn't meet the direction of this criteria, the question is, what is he looking to get out of the deal? Because see, to have a woman like this means he's got to respond and be a stand-up kind of man so that together they can rule and oversee whatever dominion God has given them. But listen, I'm getting excited and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because I do have more, but we're going to hold on to that. Let's summarize where we are right now. King Lemuel's mama wanted to make sure her son would return to the right path because apparently he was starting to wild out. She told him excessive drinking should be avoided so he wouldn't pervert his ability to judge righteously. She also told him, speak up for those who couldn't speak up for themselves, whether literally or figuratively. And she told him there are two kinds of women that are out there. Fast women. Proverbs 6:26 says a prostitute, and a prostitute is one who can be bought. And just so you know, there are female and there are male prostitutes, but a prostitute is one who can be bought, will bring you to poverty, and sleeping with another man's wife will cost you your life. You better listen up, Lemuel, and everybody else reading this. But valiant women, you can place the full weight of your confidence in a valiant woman, Lemuel, because she'll be good to you all the days of her life and never bad. She's admonishing him to choose wisely, because you choose the one woman, you can lose your mind. Choose another kind of wrong woman, you can lose your money. Choose another kind of wrong woman, and you can lose both. As I said, there's more to learn from this valiant woman, and we're going to save that for next time. Shalom.